Good evening, good evening, good evening. Let me give y'all a few minutes to come on in. Welcome to my channel. Come on in, come on in. Give me a second here. I'm going to pull up some questions that make sure my mic is on. Yeah. I'm going to pull up some questions that I read that I wanted to answer for you. So come on in. If you are just coming on in, let me know where you're coming in from. Don't be shy. Say hi. Let me know where you are. Let me see your name. Oh, my face itches. Come on in. And if you are just scrolling by, this is a channel where we talk about overcoming toxic and narcissistic relationships for women who want to heal, move on, and rebuild their life from toxic or narcissistic relationships. So, for those of you who are just coming in and you're just scrolling by, that's what we do here. So, let me just pull up some questions. And I also have a message for you guys tonight. I might share it in the morning, but something tells me I need to share it now too, just in case. So I feel like I want to share that. I don't want it to be like that. Okay, let me check my other phone for the questions. All right. If I use my phone, I'm going to have to put on my glasses, which I don't like wearing my glasses. But I don't like the setup on the desktop, so I might just have to use my phone. But let me know how you're doing. How was your day? Oh, that's good. You know what? Before I give myself a headache, let me put on the glasses. So I'm in here for a Q&A. If you have any questions, like I said, for those of you who are just coming on in, and you just happen to find this channel just by scrolling, welcome. My name is Nailah Abdullah. I'm a toxic relationship coach, and I work with women, helping them to heal and move on from toxic or narcissistic relationships, whether they're still in it or they are already out of it. So that is what we do here. I have a message. Like I said earlier, I was thinking of waiting until tomorrow morning, where I give a daily message on my Glow and Grow series here on this channel. But I actually think I need to share it tonight because there might be someone here that needs to hear this. So I'll share that and then I'll get into some Q&A. If you guys have any questions, welcome. Hello, baby Ronaldo. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in. Even if you're new here, don't be afraid. Ask your questions. Like I said, we're here to work towards overcoming toxic and narcissistic relationships. All right, so I found some of the questions. Before I get into the questions, the message I have for you tonight, is if you have children with someone that you consider to be toxic or narcissistic, I know it's really, really hard. I know it's hard. I've worked with several women who have been through it, who are still going through it, and I know it's very, very hard. Um, Besides being a toxic relationship coach, besides being a mental health professional, I was also in a narcissistic relationship for 10 years. And um, by the grace of God, I did not have any children with that person. But I am a mother now, and I can only imagine the pain that you feel. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you so much. Thank you, baby Ronaldo. Thank you. Thank you. I can only imagine how it feels to have to share the most important person in your life or people in your life with someone who is so destructive. But here's my message to those of you um, who are going through that. Be patient. Try to be patient, because at some point they're going to sabotage it themselves. They're going to show who they are to those kids, because a lot of times they're very good at manipulating the children, making the children think they're the great parent. Um, a lot of times they're really good at manipulating the court system, right? And I can imagine how extremely frustrating it is. But there will be a time, because remember, this is all an act. This is what these people do. It's all an act. So it's only a matter of time before they're exposed, before they expose themselves, right? It's only a matter of time. So what they're going to try to do is to trigger you, to push your buttons and make you be the one to explode or to do something that can get you into problems. But if you can manage to be patient and stay the course and do what's best for you and your children, at some point the mask is going to fall off and they're going to be exposed to the children, to the court system, to whoever else. Either way, it's hard for the kids, whether they're manipulated or whether they're exposed. Either way, it's challenging. And as a mother, yes, you have to figure out, how do I explain this to my kids? Of course, it's based on age, what's age appropriate. But one of the ways I explain these types of situations to younger people is explaining it like a illness, because it is, and even though most people that we are calling narcissistic are not technically diagnosed, you still realize that they have some sickness, right? So that is how I would recommend to explain it to the children, right? This person is not well. Yes, you're used to hearing that people are not well, maybe physically, they have a headache or they feel sick, but there's people who are not well and not even aware that they're not well, but you have to protect yourself from them. And it's so important to have these conversations with your children, because this is also preparing them for the future, because they're going to cross, other narcissists and toxic people are going to cross your children's path. So you're not just, I think a lot of times mothers worry that, I don't want to be considered a bad mother, that I'm bashing the father or things like that. But if you see that this person has been destructive to you, even if not to the children, but to you, you know what they're capable of. And it's your responsibility to educate your children and to equip your children as much as you possibly can, and not just in how to deal with the father, but also how to deal with other people out in the world that they are going to cross paths with at some point. Okay, but my message for that, for those of you who are in that situation, is to be patient. Be patient. Be patient. The mask is going to fall eventually. All right, so let me pull up some questions here. And excuse me, I have to drink tea in between. I am getting sick. My kids were sick for the past week, and I was shocked. I was like, oh, I'm not getting sick. My immune system must be stronger. And I feel it coming on now. So I made me some fresh lemongrass tea. Have you all had lemongrass tea before? Let me know. I love, love, love lemongrass tea. So for those of you who don't know, I'm in St. Martin. I am from New Jersey, but my parents are Caribbean. Sorry, I'm trying to block the oil off my face. So I am West Indian American, but I'm currently in the Caribbean, and we get fresh lemongrass tea here like easily. So I love making a big pot of lemongrass tea. Yes, yes, yes. Uh-oh, did I lose my questions? Okay. So I'm going to answer a couple questions here that I read, and like I said, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in here as well. But I'm going to answer a few for you tonight. Again, for those of you coming in this channel, my name is Nailah Abdullah. This channel, we talk about overcoming toxic and narcissistic relationships. And before I get into the questions, I forgot to mention, if you are in a situation where you are in one of these types of relationships, you're on your way out, or you are already out of it, but you're still, finding it difficult to move on, to heal. For the month of December, I have a free group coaching called Stronger in 30. I was going to say Thrive. That's my original group coaching program. But for the holidays, I'm actually offering a free group coaching program from December 1st to December 30th. So if you are looking for support from someone who understands from a personal perspective as well as professional background in the field, feel free to join in. That link is website is Stronger in 30, so 30, strongerin30.com. And you will be able to get access to that. You just have to answer those questions, and then I can go ahead and approve you into the group. And you will have direct access to me, 24/7 access to the group. If you have any questions, we can talk about what's going on. It's a bit intimate because I'm trying to keep the group a bit small so that I can attend to everyone's questions and basically just give the support during the holidays. All right. So strongerin30.com. All right. So the first question here. He broke up a week ago after 3 years of ups and downs. Back with his ex just a couple of hours later. We are still talking. Why does everything in me just want to go back? I know I shouldn't, but I want to. How do I get over him? So, to couple parts to this here. The fact that he went back to the ex a couple hours later, if in case you haven't, hey Juliet, miss your Facebook ad to get you here. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, all right, no problem. And just so you know, Juliet, you can also go live in the group, in the Stronger in 30 group. Okay. So it's not just for me. This is open for you guys. You can use it to your, to your convenience. So if I see that you guys are live, I can also hop on. So I'm gonna answer. Okay. So I'm gonna answer a few questions here on the topic of overcoming toxic and narcissistic relationships. So I'll just read it real quick again. He broke up a week ago after 3 years of ups and downs. Back with his ex just a couple of hours later. We are still talking. Why does everything in me just want to go back? I know I shouldn't, but I want to. How do I get over him? So the first thing I think it's important for you to acknowledge is that he went back to the ex a couple hours later because he never left the ex, right? I actually just did some batch recording of videos earlier today, and one of them is about, why do they cheat? And they always keep backups, right? Because they are super afraid of not having supply. Supply is someone that they can have access to control, to manipulate, to trigger, to break, whatever they want to use you for, right? But you are giving them that supply, right? You are the host to the parasite, right? So they're always keeping someone on backup in some capacity, right? They may not be sleeping with them, but they're, having conversations with them, just setting things up so when they're ready to make that move, they can make it. So I think it's important that you realize that they went back to them, and a couple hours later, they've been with them. They didn't just go back. They've been there, right? And, as painful as that may be to hear, the reason I'm speaking on that point first is because sometimes, because of the pain, we can be in denial about who we're dealing with, right? So the fact that you want to go back to him, these are the things you have to remind yourself of. I want to go back to someone that has been with someone else, that has been keeping someone else on standby, or has already been involved with them, right? So the other part to your question is, we are still talking. That is not a good idea for you. Um, Even though it may feel good for you in the moment because you don't want to be alone, you don't want to be without them, they are familiar to you, you do not want to continue talking to them. You are causing more damage to yourself, and you're actually playing right into their game plan, which is to keep people around. They need to have people. So just like they had her, right? And you said they went back to her a few hours later, they're now keeping you around, right? So sometimes we have to be willing to do things even though it's painful. It may feel good that you're still talking to him because you can't stand the thought of not having access to this person because this is what you're used to. However, as grown women, right, we have to put on our big girl undies, as they say, and we have to make decisions that sometimes hurt in the moment, but we know it's good for us in the long term, right? So still talking to them, going no contact is one of the first things you need to do. And if you have children, then minimal contact. This is what you need to do when you are dealing with these types of people, toxic and narcissistic people. If you are out of the relationship, you need to go no contact. Even though you are tempted to talk to them, find other supports, find other spaces, find other things to do whatever you need to do to make sure that you discipline yourself, right? So you are not subjecting yourself to further abuse, manipulation. So we are still talking. That has to change. Why does everything in me just want to go back? I know I shouldn't, but how do I get over him? So again, you want to get over him, you got to go no contact. You have to go no contact first, and then you have to start working on your healing. And that's a big statement. It's not just a 1, 2, 3. But some of the things. Sorry, I have an itch here. One of the things of working on your healing is going no contact first. Let me put the AC on. Going no contact first, and then looking at your support system. Your support system is very important. And if you don't have, a big group of friends or a big group of family, then you have to reach out for support elsewhere. If you're watching this is a version of support. If you want deeper support, I have other ways that I can support you or someone else, but you want to get support, because what happens is it's like coming out of war, right? When a veteran comes out of war, right, they have a whole team, or at least they're supposed to. I've heard otherwise. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but they do have all these different resources in place that is there to support them, right? And that is the same thing when these are not normal breakups. Let me emphasize that. Coming out of a toxic or narcissistic relationship is not a normal breakup, right? So you want to go no contact, and you want to establish your support system. And then you want to start looking at, okay, what do I need to start exposing myself to start healing? Like I said, whether it's getting support from a coach, buying some books. There were 3 books that I got when I got out of my relationship. It was a 10-year relationship. I feel like I'm slouching to see the camera. Let me pull this up a bit. Okay. That's better. Ooh, my back. Y'all, I'm starting to get these body aches. This flu is trying to get me. I rebuke it. Rebuke it. Yeah, there were 3 books that I read when I got out of that relationship. And, it's so important to start immersing yourself in new ways of thinking, educating yourself on, what healthy relationships are, what toxic relationships are, the dynamics of these relationships, because then you're able to start applying it to your own personal life. So 3 of the books that I got was one, The Secret, And just as a disclaimer, if you are a Christian, a believer, you'll see a lot of, they basically took the Bible, condensed it, and took God and Jesus out, basically. But it's a good book, right? What was the other one? Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man from Steve Harvey, which really was helpful because it allowed you to see actually how uncomplicated relationships could be and how much we complicate it or how much we allow manipulative people to complicate it, how simple men can be. I remember someone interviewed Steve Harvey. So when his book came out in the movie too, let me know if you remember that. When that came out, what was this, maybe 10, 15 years ago. And someone said, well, how come why did you make one for the ladies? Why did you make one for the men? And he said, well, if I have to write a book about women for the men, he said, that's going to take me a long time, or I'm going to have to write like several volumes of that book, right? He said, but men, we're simple. And so that book was very helpful because, when you're dealing with these types of people, narcissistic, toxic people, you are bending over backwards to make the relationship work. You are bending over backwards to get them to act right. And when you read this book from Steve Harvey, you realize like I was doing way too much, So that was a good book. And the other book was Go No Contact Like a Boss by Kim Said. Very, very good book. She's also a coach, actually. I don't know if she's still doing coaching, but her book was really good because, I remember it took me 2 years to go fully no contact. Now, out of those 2 years, there was very minimal contact after like the first couple months. But when it was time to get divorced, I tried to reach out to arrange that. And, it was just like, and there was like occasional like emails and things like that. And, my last straw was when I did reach out for the divorce and he was being extremely difficult. And I said, you know what, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to try to make anything work. I will get the money to get an attorney, and let them deal with you, you know? But yeah, going no contact is a lot of times not the hard part. And I talk about this more in my program, my course, The Relationship Detox. Going no contact is not usually the problem. It's really maintaining it. A lot of people have a hard time maintaining going no contact. So these are some of the things that you can start to work on. It's not overnight, but that's why I speak about the support system, because the emotions are going to be up and down. The temptations are going to be there, not just from you, but from them as well. They want to keep you around. Even though he broke up with you, he's going to want to keep you around the same way he kept that ex around. That's why he was able to go back to her a couple hours after you all broke up, right? So there's going to be lots of temptations, but you have to put yourself first, and you have to be willing to deal with some pain, because you're going to deal with pain anyway. If you stay connected to them, you don't go no contact, you allow them to still have access to you, you go in and out of the relationship, you're still going to have pain, right? So you have to choose, what kind of pain do I want? Do I want the pain where I allow them to have access to my life, and this pain drags on for decades? Because don't think that just if you're in your 20s or 30s and you think, oh, this is just a phase, this is who they are. They will drag this out into you become a senior citizen. Okay, so you have to decide, do I want that pain, or do I want the pain where I feel it now, but I know if I do the hard part, right, the heavy lifting, that once I heal, that pain will be gone, right? As I work on my healing, that pain will be gone. That is a choice you have to make. All right, let me look for another question here. Oh, this tea is so good. So the question here is, how do you prove to your friend that she is being used for triangulation as a form of manipulation? How do you prove to your friend that she is being used for triangulation as a form of manipulation? So, for those of you who don't know what triangulation is, think of a triangle, right? So, they are taking someone and bringing them in the mix of the relationship conflict, the relationship issues, the relationship period. Put a chair here so I can put my feet up, but that's not working. Ugh. So for example, if I am in a relationship with Bob and I realize Bob is, and triangulation can happen outside of just the situation of narcissism. But for the sake of this topic that we're talking about here, if I'm in a relationship with Bob, we're having issues. I realize he's narcissistic. I'm trying to go no contact with him, but he's contacting my girlfriend, Sarah, and he is telling Sarah about things that's going on in his life. Maybe he's not directly saying, hey, Sarah, tell Nailah this, and that, but he's keeping, a close relationship with Sarah because he says Sarah's like a sister to me. I've known her for so long. And he's keeping in contact with Sarah and he's telling Sarah things about how great his life is and what's going on with him. And really the motive behind that is so that information can come back to me so that I can feel sad and worry like, well, why wasn't he happy with me? Am I not enough? Am I the problem? This is just an example, right? But that is the triangulation, bringing someone else into the relationship. So the question here is, how do you prove to your friend that they are being used by your toxic and narcissistic ex or partner for triangulation? Here's how I function. I'm not going to say this is the right way. I believe it is, though. When you have a friend, your friend should never pick your partner over you. If you are completely in the wrong in a situation, yes, it is your friend's job to tell you that you are wrong, but they still should never pick your partner over you. That's my rule of thumb for my friends, right? So if me and Bob break up, Sarah should not be that coochie crunch with Bob. Like, I'm not saying she has to hate him, but she can be cordial, but I am her friend first, right? That is my rule of thumb for my friends. And I believe when it comes to friendships, I think that's appropriate, right? And especially if I come to Sarah and I say, hey, these are the things that I've experienced with Bob. I feel broken. This is where I am. There should be no doubt in her mind about what I'm saying. And she should be ready to support me and not go back to Bob and, get caught up with Bob. Now, there are some people who do that because they are just naive. And they think they're doing the right thing. They think they're saving the relationship, but it's also up to you. And in this example, it will be up to me to make it very clear to Sarah that this is not okay. Even if you mean well, this is not okay. I need to know that you are an unwavering support system for me, right? So my response to this question is, first, you need to set your boundaries with your friend. Right? So it's not about proving to her, right? Once you tell your friend what you've been through, that should be sufficient. You should not have to come up with receipts and beg them and come up with all different. Once you tell them, this is what I'm going through, this is what I feel, that should be sufficient. And if it's not, you might have to start to back away from that friend. Okay? You might have to back away from that friend. There was a woman that I work with, and she shared something similar with me, where she said she also had a friend where her ex-husband painted a very different picture to her, of course, about their relationship. And when the lady that I work with shared with her friend what she'd been through, the friend could not believe it, because the way that this ex-husband behaves in the community is completely different. But here's another thing a lot of them like to do. The ex-husband used money. A lot of them toxic narcissistic people, they love to gravitate towards people who are struggling financially. It also works a lot with your children, especially teenagers and people in their young 20s who want a lot of nice things, but they don't have it. They love to use money to get access to you and to control you, even if you don't realize it. And that is what this husband was doing with her friend. He was buying her and the kids, really, because I think one of the kids was a godson. He was buying the kids a lot of things, and that affected the friend's ability, or willingness rather, to believe what her friend was telling her. So again, to respond to this question, how to prove to your friend that they're being used for triangulation by your toxic and narcissistic ex, you have to set boundaries with your friend. And hopefully, if they're being a little naive, those boundaries, you explain to them the situation, you explain to them what you expect from them, right? Hopefully that conversation will snap them out of their them being naive, and they will recognize, like, okay, I need to be your support. I don't need to be bouncing back and forth and in between. I need to be here for you and you alone, right? If they don't have that realization, then you're gonna have to back off, and it's gonna hurt. This is why I say, when you come out of a toxic and narcissistic relationship, usually there's a few other relationships that will fall behind that, because not everyone gets it, right? And when you are coming out of these relationships, you are in a very vulnerable state. You're not in a state where you need to be proving yourself to other people. No. You know, that this is not the time for that. I remember when I was coming out of my narcissistic relationship, and actually at that time I didn't know it was going to completely end, but I knew that things were really bad, and I was talking about temporary separation. And I remember the height of it, right? The climax of it was, I was doing telephonic counseling at that time, and I was at my job, and I realized that the ex current partner at that time, currently ex, was having lots of conversations, late night conversations with a colleague of his. And I had two coworkers that were like girlfriends that I had met at work, and we had gotten close, and they were very supportive. One of them even let me go back to her house to stay there, because I was like, I cannot even stomach being under the same roof with this person, which was my husband at the time. And they were very, very supportive. And as the days went on, so prior to me having this realization, and there were a lot of other things happening in the relationship, but the last straw was me finding out that he was having what I would consider an affair with this woman. So prior to me discovering that, me and these girls, right, these ladies from work, which were also friends of mine at the time, we had made plans to take a girls' trip. And of course, after that situation, like, I felt completely traumatized, right, from that situation. I was married, right? I was married. I had moved to another state for this person. We were together for 10 years. Like, this was the most traumatizing experience I had ever had. Of course, I have no interest in traveling, to another state to go on a girls' trip. So when I had mentioned that to them, I thought that would be like an easy, yeah, of course not. And I noticed I started to get like attitude from them, and I was blown away. It's like, how can you? And I don't think they meant it from a bad place. Once I got through my healing journey and I reflected on that situation, I don't have any animosity towards them. I just realized that they didn't understand the severity of the situation. I remember one of them was also married, and she was giving me advice like, I've been through stuff with my husband, and we had hard times, but we pulled through. And she was comparing her situation to mine, and that's something you have to be careful about. That's why it's so important, if you are coming out of a toxic and narcissistic relationship, that you connect with people who have been there and who understand it, and not just been there, but have been there and have grown through it and healed from it. Because some people have been through it and they can talk to you because they understand it, but they haven't healed themselves, and they could lead you in the wrong direction too. But this woman, she meant well, right? But she was comparing my situation to her situation, and that's apples and oranges. These are not normal people, toxic and narcissistic people, and they're not normal breakups. What you go through with them. I forgot where I was going with this. About the friends. Oh yes, about trying to prove yourself to friends. So anyway, I found myself trying to prove to them that I could not go on this trip. Like, I'm too distraught. I couldn't eat. And anyone knows Nailah, I love to eat. I didn't have an appetite. I couldn't eat. I couldn't even return back to work, right? I had to take a leave of absence. I was that distraught. And I'm so proud of myself that not immediately, but I did get to a point where I said, I'm not going to explain myself anymore. Like, I'm just not. Like, I'm sad that, these people that I thought were friends, that I'm going to have to let them go. But I'm drained. I'm exhausted. This is exhausting. These breakups are exhausting. And you're already exhausted before the breakup, right? You're exhausted just on how they treated you and the tugging that you had to do to try to make the relationship work, and to try to get them to respect you, and try to get them to give you attention, and try to get them to not fluctuate where they're nice to you one moment, bad to you the other moment. The whole experience with them is exhausting, and you only realize it when you are coming out of it, how exhausted and drained you feel. So I realized, I am not in a place to try to prove myself to anyone, to try to get anyone to understand me. If you don't, I'm just gonna have to accept that this relationship has to be put on pause or completely end, right? And that's not even a decision you have to make right away, because again, you're in a very vulnerable space, and you need to just put the little bit of energy that you have left on you. But at least know that it's okay to put the other relationships on pause. When you are coming out of toxic and narcissistic relationships, be okay with putting other relationships on pause that are not healthy for you, because there's going to be people that love you, or at least are close to you, or like you even, friends, family, colleagues, but not everyone is going to be able to support you in the way that you need supported when you are coming out of a toxic and narcissistic relationship. And that doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they don't understand, they don't have the capacity. And you have to be very, very selective about who you go to, because that can determine how long you stay stuck. I think that's the most appropriate word. How long you remain stuck. Time does not heal all wounds. So don't think because the relationship ends and it's just a matter of time before everything just fizzles away. No, time does not heal all wounds in any situation. It's about what we do with that time. And even more so when we are talking about coming out of a relationship with a toxic and narcissistic person. It's even more important about what we do with that time, how we work on our healing. So I hope that answer was helpful for you. I'm going to stop here with the questions because I see that it is late. And I want to give my body some rest for tomorrow. If you all have any questions before I go, you can feel free to put them in now. And if not, I will head out. All right, on a side note, I am not okay with the gray hairs coming in the front. I'm not okay with that. Like, you can go anywhere else on my head, but you come in the front. I love to see gray on other people, but not on Nailah. Not on Nailah. All right, I'm going to go. I know sometimes there's a bit of a delay in the comments, so if I hang up before your message comes through, forgive me, but feel free to put it in the comments here or any of my other videos, and I will be sure to answer that for you. You all have a blessed night. We have Glow and Grow tomorrow, Monday to Friday, Glow and Grow. That's a daily message that I come in with. So make sure you turn on your notifications so you can see when I go live. I do try to go in the morning, but it depends on my schedule. So it could be any time of the day for the Glow and Grow message. All right. Y'all have a blessed night.